Cold wind blowing, shadows growing, creepy creatures in the night they're showing. Wee whispers filling up my mind, spooky shivers running down my spine.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Shivers podcast. I'm Ben,
And I'm Ethan.
and today we're going to be playing Higher or Lower horror. Fuck me. Today we're going to be playing Higher or Lower horror reviews. So I'll just run everyone through the rules real quick. I'm going to name a movie, and then we're going to look at the Rotten Tomatoes critic scores, and then I'll name a second movie, and Ethan's going to guess whether the critic score of the second film is higher or lower. And if he gets it right, he gets a point. If he gets it wrong, he has a chance to guess whether the audience score is higher or lower. And if he gets that right, he redeems himself and he gets another point.
Which will be good fun because personally I don't think I have the best takes on movies.
Yeah, Ethan
So-
infamously has garbage takes on,
As
on
always.
how good films are. All right, let's start with number one. The first film we have is John Carpenter's The Thing, and the critic score is 84%, right? And next up, we've got Scream. So is Scream have a higher or lower percent than The Thing?
What was the things one again?
The Thing has 84%.
84. I reckon it would have less.
You think Scream has less?
Yeah.
You're spot on, mate. Scream has an 81%.
Let's go.
All right. So Scream is 81%. Do you think Saw has a higher or lower score?
Lower. Because I don't think it did very well.
No, it wasn't very critically acclaimed. You're correct.
Yeah.
Saw has a 50% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Let's go.
Next up, so Saw has 50%. Do you think Alien 3 has a higher or lower rating?
Oh fuck, that's a real shit one, isn't it?
Famously garbage alien movie. Yeah. What do you reckon?
Ooh.
Remember, Saw is at 50%.
So it's a little 50-50 here. I reckon it'd be lower. Just because of how bad Alien 3 was.
You're spot on. All right, next up. So Alien 3 has 48%. Next up, we have Split,
Oh yeah, I remember that movie.
James McAvoy.
Yeah. I reckon that one's higher.
Fantastic. Correct again. Split has 78%.
Let's go.
Next up, we've got It Follows.
Oh, I thought that was a pretty interesting movie.
Yeah, but was it received well by critics, do you think?
I think it was less.
You think it was less?
Yeah.
Ba-bow. It Follows has a critic score of 95%.
Jeez.
But I'll now give you the chance to... Here's your redemption. So Split has a audience score of 79%. Do you think It Follows has a higher or lower audience score?
Ooh. I'm gonna go with higher for the audience.
Oh, wrong again, buddy.
Fuck.
It
I should
Fol-
have like my gut. I was thinking that it would be lower.
It Follows has a 66% audience score.
Hmm.
So It Follows has a 95%.
Yep.
Next up, we have House of Wax, the remake
That's-
from 2005.
I don't think I've actually watched that one. Yeah, I haven't watched that one. But considering how high It Follows was, I'm just gonna go lower.
You're correct. That was an easy one, I think. House of Wax has a 28% critic score.
Jeez.
Next up, we've got The Nun.
But no,
Is it higher or lower than 28%?
definitely gonna go with higher on this one.
Bum-bum. The Nun actually has a 25% critic
Jesus.
score.
Alright.
Yeah, everyone hates The Nun. It's pretty shit. Alright, but here's your redemption. House of Wax has a 43% audience score. What do you think The Nun has? Is it higher or lower?
I'm still gonna go with higher. Surely the audience reckons it's decent.
Oh, wrong again, mate. House of Wax is 43. The Nun is 35.
Oof.
Yeah, terrible movies, unfortunately. All right, so we've got The Nun, and then from the same universe, we've got The Conjuring. Is it higher or lower
Oh.
than 25%?
Definitely high. The Conjuring was actually a good movie.
Yeah, it had an 86% critic score.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got American Psycho.
Ooh.
Higher or lower than 86%?
I'm gonna go with higher.
Higher than 86?
Yeah.
Bum, bum. It had a critic score of 68%. Um, so The Conjuring has an audience score of 83%. Do you think American Psycho has a higher or lower audience score?
Mm. My gut still says higher.
You're correct. Yep. 83 for The Conjuring, and then 85% for American Psycho. Okay, so 68% critic score for American Psycho. Next up, we've got Halloween 2018. Higher or lower than
Ooh.
68?
Lower for critic score, I think.
Ooh, unfortunately, that's wrong again, mate. Halloween 2018 has a 79% critic score.
I
So
enjoyed the movie. It was pretty good.
I think it's up there as one of the better Halloween films, for sure. So Redemption, American Psycho has an 85% audience score. Do you think Halloween has a higher or lower audience score?
Lower this time.
Correct. 72% on Halloween.
But yeah, Halloween 2018 definitely a needed, like, I guess, soft reboot. Which canceled out all the shit comes in between.
Yeah, it did need a clean slate. They already tried a reboot with Rob Zombie, and I think the 2018 wasn't even a reboot. It was just it was a soft reboot, and it continued from Halloween 2, I think.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
saw
100% needed.
I saw that in cinemas when it came out, and I think at the time I'd only seen the first three Halloween films.
Mm.
So to me it was just a continuation from what I'd already seen, and then after the fact, that's when I went and saw the older sequels.
Oh yeah.
All right, so Halloween 2018, 79% critic score. Does A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 have a higher or lower critic score?
Oh, I'm gonna say lower.
You're correct. It has a 14%.
Yeah, because I knew that like the newer Nightmare on Elm Streets didn't do that well.
No, that was, I think, yeah. You ask anyone online, and it's unanimous. The 2010 reboot is just no good. Jackie O'Haley, the actor who plays Freddy, did a fantastic job. But I think one of the things that brings it down is the design and like the special effects for Freddy.
Oh yeah.
Everyone says he looks like a burnt pepperoni pizza.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it now. It's oof.
I hear that all the time. All right. So A Nightmare on Elm Street has 14%. Does The Evil Dead have a higher or lower critic score?
Higher.
Yeah, it's much higher. 86%, which is no surprise. Okay, so Evil Dead is 86%. Does The Exorcist have a higher or lower critic score?
I'm gonna go lower with that one.
Spot on, mate. Evil Dead has 86. The Exorcist has 78%.
Oh, did you know that Evil Dead has a game?
I've heard of it. What's it called?
It's just Evil Dead the game.
Oh, okay, right. When did that come out?
When did it come out?
It was recently, wasn't it? That's the last couple of years.
I think so. Yeah, 2022.
Yeah, okay. It's so funny. I think there's been I've seen a few horror games come out recently, and I think it's come from the popularity of Dead by Daylight. I've seen like the Friday the 13th, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and yeah, obviously the Evil Dead. I think that's what's come from the popularity of Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, because they follow the similar like asymmetric type games, like
Yeah,
few survivors and a killer.
yeah. I think it's interesting. I wish I enjoyed playing them. I've
Mm.
heard the Texas Chainsaw Massacre's really good.
It is. But the cross-platform is a bit annoying for it, so not like the best
Yeah.
game to play with mates. But the Friday the 13th game, I think their server's getting shut down or have already been shut down for the game.
Yeah, that's the licensing. The rights got shifted. Hey,
I think so, yeah.
I think I heard that somewhere. Yeah, the studio that owned the rights. I think the um the rights got reverted back, and yeah.
Oh, yeah. It expired end of last year,
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
which sucks because it's actually like a decent game.
I have heard that. Yeah. Alrighty. So we just had The Exorcist with 78%. Does Alien versus Predator have a higher or lower?
Definitely lower, but I love the movie.
Would you give it a higher score
Uh,
than 78%?
I'd sit around the 70 zone. Like it's not the best movie, but I still like it.
One of the great uh, garbage takes from Ethan, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
No, it's significantly lower with 22% critic score.
Ooh. Like the second Alien vs Predator, didn't really like that one because you could barely see anything, like throughout the entire film.
Yeah, I'm not sure
Um,
what they were doing with that one. It's almost pitch black in every single scene.
It sucks. But I did like what they were going for with like the uh, Predator Xenomorph.
The Predalien.
Yeah. But just how they executed it with the film, not the greatest.
Awful even.
Yeah.
I
Second movie, don't care for it, but the first one I love.
I do think on a rewatch, I think the second film, the second AVP, does make the original look better by comparison. It makes me appreciate the first one more.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got AVP had a 22% critic score. Does Gremlins 2, the new batch, have a higher or lower critic score?
Oh, I remember watching that movie. That shit was weird.
It's one of my all-time favorites. But
Yeah.
do the critics agree?
Uh, well, yeah, I think I'm gonna go higher than AVP.
Correct. Gremlins 2 has a 71% critic score.
Great film. I also enjoyed it watching it as a kid.
Yeah, I do love the Gremlins films. All right, so we have Gremlins 2, the new batch, with a critic score of 71%. Does the Amityville Horror from 1979 have a higher or lower score?
I'm gonna say lower, but I've also never seen that.
I think it's a good film. It's not bad. It's been remade a handful of times. But yeah, you're right. It has a lower score of 31%. All right. So 31%. Does Child's Play 3 have a higher or lower critic score?
Actually, which one was that one?
That's the Army boot camp one.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna say higher, but not by much.
Oof. Unfortunately, Child's Play 3 has a critic score of 19%.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I knew it did bad, but not that bad.
And yeah, critics didn't like this one. So Redemption. The Amityville Horror has a audience score of 52%. Do you think Child's Play has a higher or lower audience score?
Lower.
Correct. With 40%. I think it's one of the lowest in the series.
Yeah, it wasn't the best.
I think it's up there with Seed of Chucky. I'm pretty
That
sure.
movie was so fucking weird.
Yeah, it's something different. All right. So Child's Play has a critic score of 19%. Do you think House of a Thousand Corpses has a higher or lower critic score?
I'm gonna say higher.
Correct. House of a Thousand Corpses has a critic score of 22%.
Barely, Jesus.
Yeah, not by a whole lot. So House of a Thousand Corpses, 22%. Do you think The Grudge has a higher or lower critic score?
Higher.
Why? Run me through it. Why do you think The Grudge has done better than House of a Thousand Corpses?
Well, I've never seen The Grudge.
Really?
Yeah,
The Grudge is.
surprisingly.
I love The Grudge. The Grudge is so fucking good.
What's it about?
We're gonna end this podcast here, folks. Thanks for listening. I'm kidding. All right, we're watching The Grudge tonight then.
Fair enough.
But The Grudge has a critic score of 41%, so almost a little under double what House of a Thousand Corpses has. So The
Yeah.
Grudge has 41%. Do you think the It miniseries from 1990 has a higher or lower critic score?
Ooh.
So this is the Tim Curry one, the OG baby.
Yeah. I'm gonna say higher.
Yeah, you're right. 68%.
Mm.
Um,
Because I know that movie is seen as like a good one for back in the day.
yeah. It's probably one of the better Stephen King adaptations. So I think it's up there with The Shining. But I think most of Stephen King's work. Okay, most is the wrong word. A lot of Stephen King's work was adapted to screen. In the 80s and 90s, you got like Misery. That's a good film. Then there's
Pet
Carrie,
Sematary.
Pet Cemetery. Yep. The one about the car. I can't remember what that's called. And there's
Uh,
so Cujo.
Wait, Dreamcatcher was a Stephen King
Yep,
film?
yep. That was a
I
Stephen King.
love that movie.
That was yeah. It's different.
Yeah.
All right. So it has a 68%. Do you think the Blair Witch Project has a higher or lower critic score?
Ooh. I'm gonna say lower.
Lower than 68%.
Yeah.
Oh, unfortunately, the critics liked the Blair Witch Project. They gave it an 86%.
Hmm.
But
I like the movie as well. It was pretty good.
I'm gonna be honest. I can't get around the Blair Witch Project. I know it's like, um, um, fuck, what's the word? I just can't get around it. I know everyone talks about it.
The game for it wasn't too bad. Uh, it's I'm pretty sure there's a second Blair Witch Project game. I think.
Oh, if there is, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, because I only know about the one, uh, which you just follow around a dog. Well, the dog's your friend,
Mm.
but it's a pretty good game.
Mm. All right. So the Blair Witch. Sorry. Okay. So, Redemption. The It miniseries has an audience score of 64%. Do you think the Blair Witch Project has a higher or lower audience score?
I'm gonna go with higher because I know there is like a fan base behind the whole thing.
Ooh. Bum bum. The audience did not like the Blair Witch Project. They gave it a 57%.
Jeez.
So yeah, a bit lower than the It miniseries. Um, so the Blair Witch Project has a critic score of 86%. Do you think The Fly, from the 1980s, has a higher or lower critic score?
That movie was fucking weird.
Yep.
Like I watched it a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Like it's such a weird premise, but at the same time, I loved it.
I think
Uh,
it's up there as one of my all-time favorites.
mm,
The special effects are just spot on, and it's so unnerving. And Jeff Goldblum, um, one of the best performances I've seen, um,
yeah.
in horror.
But I'm gonna say lower than 86%.
Or it actually has a higher score of 93%.
Jesus Christ.
Not surprising. The Fly is one of the
Yeah,
greats.
yeah.
Um, so Redemption, the Blair Witch Project has an audience score of 57. Do you think The Fly has a higher or lower audience score?
Ooh. I'm gonna go with higher.
Yeah, you're right. 83% audience score, which I think that's fair. That's fitting.
Yeah.
All right. So The Fly has a 93% critic score. Do you think The Silence of the Lambs has a higher or lower critic score?
Ooh. That was a good one as well.
So 93 is a score to beat. Do you reckon it's higher or lower?
I reckon it's lower, but it's still like high.
It's close. It's 95%. It's 2% higher.
Jesus.
I think I know you haven't read the Thomas Harris books, but the Silence of the Lambs film I think is the best adaptation of his work. Um, I think the Red Dragon, I think, is my favorite out of the novel series. Um, but I think I enjoy the Silence of the Lambs film the most out of how many films is there? I think there's five. There's Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Rising, and uh,
Uh,
what's the original called? Manhunter or Manhunt.
yeah,
Manhunter, yeah. Um, yeah, Silence of the Lambs is easily the best out of those lot. And
I've only
95.
wa- I've only watched this one when I was like quite young, so I never got to appreciate it, I guess. So yeah, gotta
It's
give it a rewatch eventually.
absolutely. So Redemption, The Fly has an 83% audience score. Do you think Silence of the Lambs has a higher or lower audience score?
And 83. I'm gonna go with higher because like I know that a lot of people liked it.
People love Silence of the Lambs, and I'm in that boat. And you're absolutely correct. It has a 95% audience score as well. Um,
Very rare that you get like similar audience to uh critic score.
well, that's the thing.
Not
Rotten Tomatoes is it's such an odd rating system, and I think there's a trend you'll see. I think if the scores are pretty similar, I think you can trust the ratings if that makes sense. But if there's a
yeah.
big gap between the audience and the critic score, I think it makes it a little bit harder to find a good film on there.
Mm.
Like we just talked about, It Follows, has a 95% critic score and a 66% audience score. Um, and I think I'm more inclined to agree with the critic score of 95%. I wouldn't give it a 95%, but I think 66 is way too low.
Yeah, because that was a good film as well.
Yeah. I think critics can sometimes be way too harsh, and I think audiences can sometimes maybe not appreciate a film, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Also, don't listen to anything I'm saying because I'm just making shit up. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Don't listen to a word I'm saying. All right. Next up, we have Prey, and Silence of the Lambs was at 95%.
You talk about the Predator movie, right?
Yeah. The Predator one. So 95 is the score to beat. It's a higher or lower. And before you answer, do you enjoy the film? Did you enjoy watching it?
I definitely did. Compared to the last one, like I think it's just called The Predator
Yep.
or Predators. Um, like compared to that one, I much prefer Prey because it introduced a new time period
Mhm.
for the Yautja.
Yep.
Uh, plus also kind of just removed the whole super predators and just went back to like the original, well not original, but like the older Yautja, even for them because in the film you can see how uh what's the word uh outdated his stuff is compared to the
Yeah, it's like his gear and
other one.
equipment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I much prefer that one over like the last previous one.
I just enjoyed it. I think it. Yeah, there's a lot of fluff in the sequels to the original. And then this one just goes back to the basics. And I know it's the plot feels very similar to the original, and that's fine.
Mm.
I think the change of setting, um, time period, I think it mixes it up just enough. And it is loosely based on a Predator comic. I'm not sure what it's called, but um, in the second film, at the end, when the Predator gives, uh, is it Danny Glover? Yeah,
Uh,
Danny Glover. When he gives him the flintlock pistol, um, it's got a pirate's name on it, and I think in the comic, there was the comic that had that pirate, and him and the Predator were fighting together on the ship, and I think the pirate was like mortally wounded or something, and he gave the pistol to the Predator out of respect. Um, and that comic is what this film's adapted from. Sorry, based on.
mm.
Sorry, the film was adapted from the comic. Um, and yeah, I think it shakes it up just enough to be um, maybe on par with the original. That might be a hot take. But yeah, so 95% higher or lower for Prey.
I want to say lower.
You are spot on. How much lower do you think?
not by much because I know I'm assuming that was better received than the last one.
Yeah. It is 1% lower with 94%.
Oh yeah,
It's very close.
yeah.
All right, next up. So Prey has 94%. Does The Purge have a higher or lower critic score?
Ooh, I like that film as well.
I
That
know you
was
do. That's why I put it on here because I knew you'd love it.
hell yeah. The sequels never really got much into them.
Mhm.
But the first one loved it.
Yep.
Uh, but I'm gonna say lower.
Mhm.
Uh, but not
How
by much.
yeah? How much lower do you reckon than 94?
Uh, 20%.
20. So you think it's 70 in the 70s?
Yeah.
You're right that it's lower, but it's 41%.
Jesus.
Yeah,
I
people.
thought.
It's so fun. Critics did not like this film, but audiences liked it even less, with 36%.
Jeez.
All right, so
But yeah.
The Purge has 41%. Does The Black Phone have a higher or lower critic score? Got a new one here. Got a bit of a recent film.
Yeah, I think I remember watching that one. I'm gonna say higher.
Yeah, spot on. 82%. So yeah, The Black Phone, 82% critic score. Does Sinister have a higher or lower critic score? Another Ethan Hawke film. Going
Oh,
back
and
to back.
Ethan Hawke is also in The Purge.
Oh, yep, he is too. 3 in a row.
Um,
Awesome.
yeah. I'm
Higher or lower than 82%.
gonna say lower.
I'll tell you right now, Sinister is up in my probably top 10 favorite horror films.
Oh yeah, that's the one about the like the tapes and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, the reels up in
Yeah.
his attic. Does that change your answer at all?
Uh, no, I'm gonna keep it lower.
Lower? Yep. All right, correct. 63%. Um, I I don't know if I'd go that low. I think I'd probably bump it up to maybe a 70, maybe like a mid 70s. I think it's better than a 63.
Yeah.
All right. So Sinister has a 63%. Does Insidious have a higher or lower critic score?
Uh, wait, what'd you say? 63%.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with the lower still.
Ooh, ba-bow. Insidious has a 67, so it's higher, but not by much.
Barely, yeah.
All right, so Redemption. Does Insidious? So Sinister has a 62% audience score. Does Insidious have a higher or lower audience score?
I'm gonna go with lower.
Well, actually, they have the same audience score. So bum bum. I'm just gonna.
That's cheating.
Sorry, no point for you.
Wow.
Unlucky. All right. So Insidious has a 67% critic score. Does The Collector have a higher or lower critic score?
What's the collector again?
You haven't seen The Collector?
Oh wait, yeah, it's the dude with the mask, isn't it?
Yeah, and the main fella, he breaks into this house, and there's already a guy in there, and he's set up the house with traps and whatever.
Pseudo Jigsaw.
Yeah,
Uh,
higher or lower than 67.
I'm gonna go lower.
How much do you reckon?
Somewhere in the 50s.
50s. Fuck, that's generous. No, this movie did not do well. 29% critic score.
Jesus.
All right, so last one. The Collector had a 29%.
Yep.
Does Alien Covenant have a higher or lower critic score?
Oh, that's a tough one because I know Covenant was like just a shit version of Alien.
Interesting take.
Uh, like I don't like Prometheus or Covenant or anything, any of
Mhm.
those sorts of Alien films.
Yep.
Uh, Covenant.
Higher or lower than 29.
I will say higher, somewhere in the 30s.
Well, it's actually a fair bit higher. And it was 65%.
Hmm.
Um,
That's
I think Alien Covenant was a step in the right direction. I think Prometheus was setting the series down in an awkward trajectory, and I think Covenant kind of shifted it back on the right path because it is like a more true to form film for the series. And the new Alien film coming out soon, Alien Romulus. I think if it continues the trajectory that Alien Covenant was going in, I think Alien Romulus is going to do very well.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna do a quick Google. I think Prometheus was directed by Ripley Scott. Ridley Scott, sorry. Yeah, it was directed by Ridley Scott. And I think that's the first one he did since the first one, I think. Um,
He did the first one.
did he do Resurrection?
Look.
No, he didn't. No, yeah. So Ridley Scott did the first Alien, killed it with that one, absolutely nailed it. Then it was James Cameron, then David Fincher, and then it was Jean Pierre. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce that. I'll butcher that. And then yeah, he jumped back on for Prometheus, and I'm not sure what he was going for with Prometheus, but obviously not enjoyed by most. And like I said, yeah, it was setting the series down an awkward path, and I think Alien Covenant kind of corrected that.
Mm.
I think 65 might be a bit too low though. I'd probably go 70s as well for this one.
I will say I did like the Neomorphs, I think they're called in that one.
Yeah.
Like I like their more animalistic design because I don't know. I just like the white design.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's okay. It's something different, and that's fine. Not everything has to be the same for every film. But I thoroughly enjoyed Covenant. I think it was probably it's definitely the third best out of the series.
Mm.
All right, so the final score is 27 out of 31. So,
Not
considering how many garbage takes you have on films, I think you've done pretty well. 27 is not bad. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time.
See you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.